What's going on YouTube? Big Boy Fast Boy here, and I am coming at you today with a Sherman S range review. Huge shout out to Seth from E-Ride Life and FreeMotionShop for demoing this wheel to Seth. And Seth was kind enough to share this wheel with me to see what a bigger rider could do on the Sherman S in terms of range. So today isn't going to be a race. I'm going to meet up with Ron DeRose. He's on the OG Sherman. We thought we would go out for a ride together today and just kind of see how they stacked up and maybe what the difference would be between a lighter and a heavier rider on the same voltage and same watt hour wheel. Seth and Garen Campbell and I, we went out on a ride over this past weekend. It was an 80-mile ride or so, and we had the Shermax, the Sherman S, and the Master Pro on that ride. It was really a great ride, and it was really surprising results. I thought that weight would probably have the biggest effect on my range. One of the interesting things that Seth Johnson said on our 80-mile ride, he thought the Master Pro would get less range simply because it's 134 volts. There's a bigger pipe for energy to flow through, meaning that the battery is going to deplete faster. That makes some sense, and maybe he's right. It'll be interesting to find out. So today I'll be doing the range test on the Sherman S, and shortly after I'll be working on a range test on the Master Pro. However, I've had more ride time on the Master Pro, and I already have a good idea of what I can get out of it. So the real test will be to see how the Sherman S does stacked up against my Master Pro on my regular rides.
Here's Ron and I. We linked up on our neighborhood canal paths, and he decided to join me on this range test to see how his OG Sherman stacked up against a Fat Boy on the Sherman S. This is a ride I do often. It sweeps through 4 cities, and there are tons of things to see and do along the way. I wanted to bring you along for the ride to give you an idea of the riding conditions I'm in, along with the mixed speeds I'm riding at. The temperature is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and we have winds about 10 to 15 miles per hour coming from the west all day long. Ron is on a V3 Sherman. He's got about 4,200 miles on it at the time of this video and weighs 175 pounds and carries about 15 to 20 pounds of gear on him. As you saw in the beginning of the video, I'm sitting at 276 pounds riding weight, and the Sherman S had only about 200 miles on it at the time of this recording. First stop is Tempe Town Lake, one of Arizona's premier outdoor recreation spaces. This is my favorite place to ride at sunset and makes a great place to teach people how to ride EUC. Fun fact. Members of the Electric Unicycles of Arizona and Phoenix E-Riders are often seen riding out here in the wild, and frequently meet here as a starting point for our group rides. You can get to just about anywhere in the valley from here. In case you're wondering, we're about 10 miles into the trip now. The Sherman S Suspension feels great. I might even say the best to date. It's really raised the bar for all EUC manufacturers, and I think it shows how valuable it is for EUC manufacturers to make good partnerships with suspension designers who specialize and have years of experience in the design of suspension for dirt bike and mountain bike applications. The Sherman S feels amazing. It's supportive, refined, and hard compressions from big bumps are easily absorbed by the suspension with no hard bottoming out from what I observed. Now we're headed up what I think is the best and longest paved bike path in the Phoenix area. The Scottsdale Greenbelt is an amazing pathway that stretches all the way from Tempe through Scottsdale and up to North Phoenix. About 25 miles in total one way if you start from Tempe Town Lake. One of the features I appreciate most about this riding path is that there are very few street crossings, and most of them are underpasses, so you can continue to ride unimpeded for miles and miles, passing through several golf courses and beautiful waterfronts filled with ducks, geese, and other wildlife. It's really cool. At this point, I'm about 15 miles from home where I started. Another thing that I love about the Sherman S, and I wish more EUC manufacturers offered, is a true hard mode pedal feel. The Sherman S has a very nice hard mode that is flat, confident, and actually makes your feet tired if you're not used to a hard pedal. It wasn't until I hit around 70.5 volts until I noticed any type of movement or uncertainty in the pedals. After riding an EXN high speed for thousands of miles, I'm surprised to finally have found another 100-volt wheel that feels, dare I say, even more confident than the EXN. To me, it feels more torquey than the RS High Torque, but it also has the high speed to match the previous OG Sherman, if you have the high speed mode enabled, that is. I didn't think it was possible to have both high torque and high speed until Bigode's 134 volt wheels came out, but LeaperKim seems to be changing that expectation. Now we're in North Scottsdale, almost to the edge of North Phoenix. We're about 35 miles into our ride, and my battery was sitting at about 63% and 92 or 92.5 volts if I remember correctly. And Ron was getting his first whiff of range anxiety as he sat at around 48% and 89.5 volts or so. We decided to turn around and get off of the Greenbelt after old Grumpy Grump gave us the thumbs down and headed to downtown Phoenix, while first stopping by the downtown shopping district where things are always festive. We've got about a 15-mile ride to get to downtown Scottsdale first. Lastly is build quality. I'll go ahead and get the bad out of the way right now and say that I'm not a fan of the seat or the pedals, but I'm certain the aftermarket maker community will get right on this. LeaperKim had the right idea behind the pedals, but the design flaws have really shown themselves in execution. I never really expect the stock pads to work well with any wheel, so be ready to put some quality pads on this beast of a wheel, and I wouldn't even bother trying to ride it without pads. You need leverage points on this wheel not only for safety, but to unlock the Sherman S's potential. The rear taillight is a bit of a gimmick and it feels cheap compared to the overall build quality of the Sherman S, and I think that's where things get good. The veteran Sherman S actually feels like the tank it's named after. From the magnesium alloy outer shell, the high-impact poly handles, to the seemingly durable and extremely high-output headlight that's well protected by the front handle. It has all of the makings of being a machine that can take a beating. Beatings are actually one thing this particular Sherman has been through. Several riders have actually demoed this wheel and set it down. This wheel was actually pedal clipped on asphalt going about 30 miles an hour by Seth Johnson. Thankfully he's okay. Both he and the Sherman S hit the ground extremely hard, and I'm so thankful he was able to take a few minutes to shake it off, and he got back up on the Sherman S and continued riding. More torture tests of the Sherman S can be seen of Seth and other riders in Denver, Colorado, absolutely sending this thing on some jumps and off-road trails. Weighing in at 97 pounds, those guys were seemingly defying gravity with this thing. It's fantastic footage and definitely worth going over to the eRide Live channel on YouTube to check it out. And just so you know, all of the things I just mentioned happened before I performed this range test, and the Sherman S has been performing flawlessly. The ride from Scottsdale to Phoenix always feels a bit weird, perhaps a little polarizing. The gentrified downtown streets of Scottsdale are all done up in holiday cheer. All of the buildings and landscaping is perfectly manicured and well maintained, inviting to any and all. Shoppers, of course. As we transitioned into Phoenix, where big business, entertainment districts, upscale and no-scale housing, and people in need all try to coexist, Everything changed once we crossed that bridge. Everything became real, raw, and honest. It felt much more representative of the world we live in. One that's unmanicured, imperfect, and in need of some TLC, while still there are so many things left to be appreciated at the same time. Such is life. A never-ending constant stream of all things good and all things bad. It's realizations like this that make me appreciate writing UC the most. It's given me the ability to observe and experience life through a new set of lenses, uncovering new perspectives, and helping me have a better understanding of the places I visit and the people I meet along the way. 50 miles in and we finally made it to downtown Phoenix. At this point, sadly, Ron's OG Sherman was calling the quits. He was experiencing pedal tiltback at 20 miles per hour, and with miles of road ahead of us, we had to get him a ride home. And thanks to my lovely girlfriend, Live for EUC, she came and gave him a ride, and I was able to continue my mission to ride until tiltback, hopefully with enough battery to make it home. I've got about 20 miles to go from here. I'm just arriving back at our first check-in point from earlier in the ride, Tempe Town Lake. However, we went through North Scottsdale from Tempe Town Lake, and now I'm arriving from the west, where I left downtown Phoenix. At 60 miles into the ride, I'm left with 79.2 volts with an EUC World calculated 14% battery remaining. I've been maintaining about a 22.5 mile per hour moving average throughout the entirety of the ride. At this point, I've been managing my speed and battery for almost 10 miles now, keeping speed around 25 miles an hour, knowing that I've got about 12 miles to go to get to my destination. No hard twerking and no beeps yet. I can definitely tell when my rides are coming close to an end when I have to start managing my speed. It's just not as fun when you have to start thinking about your speed, battery availability, and if you can make it to your destination without having to walk or cut out. Next, Seth has instructed me to send the Sherman S out to the Black Cobra out on the East Coast, where the temperatures are a little more chilly out there this time of year compared to Arizona. He'll also be performing a range test along with some light trail riding and some hill climbs. Cobra is also in the big boy club, weighing in at 235 pounds of pure muscle plus his gear weight. So for all the heavy fellas and fellettes out there that aren't quite as heavy as me, weighing in at 276 pounds riding weight, I think he'll be a great representation for tall riders who weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 245 to 250 pounds, who enjoy leisurely cruises with fun bursts of adrenaline pumping speed and technical challenges. So be sure to head over to the Black Cobra's YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss any of his upcoming Sherman S content. FreeMotionShop was kind enough to lend this wheel to Seth and I, and one of the unique things about buying a Sherman S from FreeMotionShop is that I've been told they have a special agreement with LeaperKim, and LeaperKim is installing a special waterproof and fire retardant mesh between the inner battery housing and the outer shell to help increase protection from water ingress and slow any battery fires that may occur. Of course, I haven't tested either of these features out, but I thought it was cool to hear that distributors like FreeMotionShop are taking the initiative to help improve the quality and the safety of the wheels that they're providing to their customers. Weather resistance and fire protection are often two important criteria that EUC enthusiasts consider before buying a new EUC. So if that's something that you value, consider purchasing your Sherman S with this exclusive feature from FreeMotionShop. 66 miles in, 73.6 volts, 0% EUC World calculated battery, still 25 mile per hour speeds, but I don't want to push it any faster at this voltage. If I hit a bump, it's over. I can't ride on the street safely anymore at this point, so I'm going to start taking the bike lanes, which I hate, and you'll see why shortly.
All right, well, as you've heard, I'm getting low battery beeps here. I have to be really careful with my twerking. The Sherman S is feeling a little sloppy beneath my feet right now. Just finishing up this ride, I'm at 70.41 miles. Battery percentage algorithm is reading 0%, and the voltage is reading 69.6 volts as I speak. Let me get you a view of it. Man, the Sherman S has just been a fantastic ride. I'm definitely getting pedal softness. I need to slow down. Holy crap. We put the Sherman S to the test. So anyways, a little over 70 miles. 70 miles is a damn good time. We were out for hours. Oop, I'm getting tilt back. Woo-wee. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna crawl the rest of the way. I only got 2 or 3 miles. Hopefully I make it back safely. All right, this is the walk of shame. I've got to check my phone and see how far I made it, but luckily I'm only about a half mile away, and I'll walk towards Liv. Liv is jumping in the car to grab me, and we'll see if I beat her to the house or if she rendezvous with me.
Well, that's it for the Sherman S review. I had a fantastic day riding all over the valley with Ron. At 69.2 volts and 72 miles ridden, I just couldn't ride any further due to Tiltback. Thankfully, I was only about a quarter mile from home, and Liv was able to come and pick me up. Liv was the real MVP of the day. After she picked Ron up in downtown Phoenix, I really appreciate that she was willing to do that. Big boy, fast boy didn't have to walk. Thank you, Liv. I was really impressed not only with the Sherman's range, but its agility, performance, and build quality. It'll certainly serve the needs of intermediate and advanced EUC enthusiasts who have high expectations of high performance and high dollar EUCs. 72 miles carrying a 276-pound rider on a 3600 watt-hour 100 volt suspension wheel that weighs nearly 100 pounds. That's nearly 375 pounds of rolling weight for 72 miles. I think that's pretty good. I ran this test with LeaperKim's newly released firmware, which has a high-speed mode. I originally wasn't going to run this test in high-speed mode, but then I got to thinking, if I own the Sherman S and I turned to high-speed mode, would I really turn that feature off? Then I started thinking even more. Most of my friends who ride OG Shermans or Shermaxes, while they love to tour around and cruise, they also like to push the limits from time to time. I think that most people that own a Sherman S are likely going to turn that feature on and leave it on, so that's how I ran the test. At just over $4,000 MSRP, when you see it, touch it, and ride it, it's one of the only wheels that's offered right now that might actually make you think that might actually be worth the money. Big thanks again to eRide Life and FreeMotionShop for letting me check out this Sherman S. If you like this video, make sure you give it the thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I've got some great content coming out on the Begode Master Pro, and you don't want to miss it.